I have always used the tortoise and the hare analogy, and I'm definitely the tortoise. And a lot of people have jumped over me and this, that, and came after me and whatever. But I have built something that I know is more lasting.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa Forziat of Take the Doughnut, here to help you get inspiration and get donuts. I'm a motivational keynote speaker, and today I'm bringing you a very exciting Take the Doughnut interview with Karyn Bryant, who is a UFC anchor, Crossrope Ambassador, and fellow Brown University alum. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. This is fun.
Oh, this is so great. And, before we get into any more serious questions, I have to ask, what's your favorite donut, if you have one?
Of course, I have a favorite donut.
Okay.
And I should just preface this all by saying, like, I apologize if I'm not a great interview. I'm so used to being on your side of this equation. So if I'm terrible, I really do apologize. My favorite donut is a chocolate old fashioned. So and to be honest with you, the one that I think is the best right now that I've had recently is up at the farmer's market here in Los Angeles at the Grove. And the one that they have is because the fried part of the donut of the old fashioned has a little bit of like crispness to it. So you really feel a different texture inside, but the chocolate on the top is just perfect. I will literally, I don't eat a lot of donuts, but if I want that donut, I will walk to the Grove. It's about a mile and change. I will walk there to earn it and get it. But of course, I'm about two. But that is the best donut. Otherwise, I would say SK Donuts here in LA does one of the sort of the cronut donut, I guess, which I don't know how we're allowed to go cronut donut
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But they have like a vanilla cream cronut type thing that's amazing. But I was raised, I'm from New England. I'm a Dunkin' Donuts girl. So I'm old school, like just filled with jelly or powdered, all that. Yeah. But chocolate old fashioned, I would say that's a long answer to a short question.
No,
Chocolate old
I
fashioned.
love long answers to this question. I'm making notes the whole time because I'm not far from you, and there are
Okay.
clearly some places I need to try, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm
There you
making a
go.
little list for myself. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Well, I said just a little bit about you up front, but tell us more about yourself. What should we know about you?
Well, as you mentioned, I am a UFC anchor, and I literally now I'm going into my 14th year. I started with them in 2012, and it's pretty wild. I do love that. You know, it's one of those things where I love what I do when I do it. It's not, I don't get to do it enough, to be honest with you, the way the scheduling works and stuff. So it's not like I'm there all the time, but I do love it when I'm doing it. It's really, really fun. But I'm a mom. I have a daughter who is just about finishing up her freshman year in school. I write a lot as well. And so I do write the scripts for my job, but I also do some other kind of writing, like a lot of us. I've got, well, the whole treatment is done, but I've got like act one of the screenplay done. I've got, bits and pieces of novels started. I'm an avid jigsaw puzzle fan. What else? I am a jump rope person. So the Crossrope Ambassadorship came about because I started doing jump rope during the pandemic, fell in love with it, and ended up starting to work with a company. And now I'm trying to develop some other things with jump rope as well. So yeah. I do a couple of few things, but really it's all on me. I'm a one woman operation, which isn't always great. So a lot of time I'm looking for alliances and partnerships on things because it's hard to do a lot of stuff alone. So
Absolutely. I mean, it's just so interesting to hear about your varied pursuits, and you're exactly the right person to have this conversation with. For those who haven't seen a Take the Doughnut interview before, let me reset this for folks. So, Take the Doughnut for me is an expression. It's the same as Carpe Diem, and it's all about
yeah.
going after the things that you want in life. So it comes from this very strange thing that happened to me at Brown, where I left a real donut on a table and it became almost instantly an object lesson for me and what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So I don't want to do that anymore. I want to
That's great.
take the donut.
Yes.
So this conversation is all about going after opportunities and goals and dreams. And what does it actually look like when we do it, practically speaking? So for you, how are you with going after goals? What's that process like for you?
Well, pretty good, I think. And I should say I'm I'm a real overachiever person. It's for a bad, for whatever. We all do our own psychoanalysis, right? I know that I'm a person that unfortunately places a lot of my own personal value in achievement. So I constantly have to be doing something, and I constantly have to be feeling like I'm improving my situation or doing something better or learning something new. And so I honestly, to be honest, feel like I've plateaued in certain things, and that's very frustrating to me. I did climb to basically like the highest position I could get with the job that I have. There are lateral movements I'd like to do I've just been told no. But I am pretty good about stuff like I created a lot of things for myself. I would say it's hard because a lot of my goals unfortunately involve other entities that have to greenlight them or say yes. So that part can be very frustrating because I've given up. I don't know how many times have I said I give up and I don't want to try it anymore because I'm frustrated. And then I'm like, oh wow, this is a really good idea. And then I just start on a different one. So I don't know. I'm not. I don't because some of my job things or things that I want are not so easily pinpointable. Like just because you do A and B doesn't mean you're going to get C. So you know what I mean. So it's hard. But I am a person who constantly tries to do things. Like I don't just kind of sit back and be like, oh well, this is it. Even when I claim to have given up on something, literally a day later, I have a different idea that I'm like, oh, maybe I'll do this instead.
And that mindset really makes a lot of sense with how you described yourself when I said, tell me more about yourself, because there were
Yeah.
so many different areas of your life that you've developed. And I imagine
Mhm.
that like when you were in a holding pattern in one area, you just started working on something else or a different
Exactly.
idea cropped up. So this makes a ton of sense to me,
Yeah.
how this has evolved for you over time. Which makes the next question almost irrelevant, but let's try it anyway.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated? If there is something that is a really big goal or something that has a lot of elements that are out of your control, like you were talking about, what keeps you feeling inspired to
Yeah.
continue to take steps forward?
Well, honestly, that's been a little bit rough lately, finding inspiration because I feel like I've plateaued. But I will say, paying the rent is a big motivator. Paying my kids' tuition is a big motivator. I don't have anybody to look after me except for me. So I really don't have a choice. And so that, I guess, just basic survival, means I got to keep going and keep doing something new. And so the motivation, yeah, comes from a lot of it. Yeah, it just comes from necessity. Like I literally can't stop. But in terms of, you know, the writing part, the creative writing part, that part is hard to find motivation sometimes and inspiration because, you know, I need to change my environment sometimes or get out of my own head on that. And sometimes I'm spending too much time on the work that I have to do. And I don't have enough time to do the sort of fun things that I want to do. So I feel like that's the big challenge for me is, um, doing what I need to do to get my bills paid and making the time to do the stuff that is actually more inspiring and more meaningful to me. That's not to say my job isn't meaningful because it definitely is. But it's like, it's hard. I went down one road really far and I've made it really far, but then you're like, yeah, but this is not all I want to do. And so sometimes it's hard. It's almost harder to, well, people will like, well, why would you want to do that thing? Like, look at all the things you built on this. I'm like, yeah, I know I built all that stuff over there and I did, and I love it, but like, I'm not 100% satisfied yet, so, I don't know. I honestly, sometimes the motivation comes from, yeah, I'll just get a different idea that I think, oh, maybe this is the one. Or, sometimes it is just a little bit of somebody saying like, yeah, confirming that you had a good idea and that there is some possibility with it. Like I said, it's unfortunate for me. A lot of the things I want to do require another entity. So that part's a little tough.
I haven't had anybody articulate, well, I can't think of many people who have articulated it the way you have, and I'm surprised about that now that I hear you talking, because
Mhm.
I really connect with this idea that like I have nobody else to lean on. So if something has to
Yeah.
get done, I have to do it. And
Yeah.
I imagine that is very relatable, and yet people don't really articulate that very much here. So I'm so glad that you said that, because there is like a built-in motivation to it just has to get done, and I'm the only person available.
Oh,
That's it.
well, I guess. Oh, well,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so interesting. Well, you may very well have been answering the next question within that, but is there any particular brand of challenge that just keeps coming up for you over and over again? Like no matter what goal or what thing you're pursuing, you know you're going to encounter this Achilles heel at some point. What is it?
Racism.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the short answer because that's been the recurring theme that has kept me down, if to be completely candid.
Yeah.
So I would say my biggest barrier has been racism.
Yeah. I'm glad you communicated it that way because looking at your background, if somebody were just to
Yeah.
look you up, it's very impressive what you've accomplished, but you know that there's been an impact. And I
Oh
think
yeah, I
at
always
every
say like,
level.
what would I have achieved if I was a blonde? Like because I know this for a fact because there have been jobs that I've gone to that I ended up getting, but it was down to me and three blondes or me and four blondes or whatever. And so, to be honest with you, I have felt basically the entirety of my career that they want my skill set, but they wanted it in different packaging, and they couldn't get it in the white packaging, so they had to go with me, even though I'm actually more than qualified for whatever the position was. For a lot of my things, that's what's kept me down because in the executive suite, there isn't anybody that looks like me. And since leaving Brown University, I graduated in 1990. I've had actually one person of color that I answered to as an executive. And that was in 2006. And I have worked for exactly, I believe, two women. They were not women of color, but they were two women. So, yeah.
People,
So
after
when you
all
don't
the
have somebody in the executive suite that's like
hard,
going to bat for you or that feels that they can relate to you, and you don't have anybody that, uh, uh, yeah, it's very difficult. And that's not to say that other people don't, aren't relatable, like that you can't really connect with people. But in the end, when you are, I was explaining this to somebody the other day. I'm like, well, I don't, to quote the Hamilton thing, like I don't get invited to the room where it happens. Like I don't.
yeah. In the mid 2010s, we were seeing a lot of conversation about Me Too, and we were seeing a lot of conversation
Yeah.
about Time's Up. And I think there was such a spotlight on Hollywood where,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it feels like a question continues with that group of women of are things improving? Are things changing? And it's been really targeted at that very specific subset of the industry.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from where you sit, it doesn't sound like there's been much change.
Not at all. Not at
Yeah.
all. No. And now it's going backwards. So
Hmm. Well, it's tricky, right? Because there's so many things like when you say, you're a goal-oriented person, but there are a
yeah.
lot of elements that aren't in your control. There are a lot of
Right.
elements that other people have the ownership of the decision making. And for anybody who's dealing with that, it's very relatable that you can do as much as you can do, and then you hit a wall and you
Yeah.
have to figure out what to do with the wall. Do
Right,
you
right. It's
go
so like you
around
can
it?
just, I get frustrated when people are like, well, if they don't give you a seat at the table, build your own. And I'm like, yeah, I've got a freaking barn of tables. I've got a barn full of them that I built and tried myself. And so, the good thing is, I will say a lot that you can do now, with YouTube and social media and all that. You can, create your own thing and build your own thing to where if it gets big enough or whatever, then they have to take notice of you type thing. So I will say, I can still pursue my artistic endeavors or do whatever I really want to do because, yeah, I've got my own YouTube channel. I got my own thing. They can't really, it's not like they can stop me from, trying to do the thing I want to do, but to get the reach and the exposure that you want, yes, you need those bigger players. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not like I can't go ahead and do what I really want to do and give it a try. You know what I mean? It's just maybe won't be on the level and the platform that I believe I've earned or that it deserves.
Yeah, the format and the
Yeah.
visibility and all of
Yeah.
that, and the funding that would go into
Right.
it.
Yeah. Funding. Yeah. That part.
That's the thing we're always chasing, no matter
Yeah.
what
That
we're
part.
doing.
Yeah.
That part. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, if you look back on your life,
Uh-huh.
you've mentioned a lot of different things that you've done
Mm-hmm.
already, even in this conversation, but What would you say is the biggest donut you've ever taken? And that could be personal, that could be professional, but just biggest thing you've said yes to or biggest opportunity that you've pursued.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a tough question. I will say, well, when I got the very first thing, being an MTV VJ was pretty great, right? And so that was really, really fun. And that was right after running BRU in Providence and going there. And a lot did come from that. And it's funny because I've been going through some of my old tapes, and people find things on Insta or YouTube. Like I'll get things sent to me. They're like, "Is this you? Is this you?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's me." And then people will, and it's for something from MTV from 1990 something, and then people are like, "Oh my God, that's why I know you on the UFC stuff." They're like, I couldn't figure it out. And then they're like, "I realized it when I was 16, like I watched all the time or whatever." So that job was a great launching pad, and I love music. In fact, I had almost gone into like a music industry job instead. Getting that one was a great start, and it led to a lot of things, and I did build off of that a lot. But and you're also just 20 something running around Manhattan. Like, who doesn't love that? Never waiting in line to get into a club, hanging with whatever. I had a really good time. I had a lot of fun. But in terms of the biggest donut, I would say one of them was maybe even actually Showtime Championship Boxing, which led to the MMA stuff, because they hadn't really had a woman doing that job of the interviewing. And so they think they had tried one once. And it was important because you don't want to just be the girl on the broadcast. You don't want to be, oh, they just brought you in because they think you're cute and they need a chick on the show. And so you definitely feel the pressure to perform and be very good at that job. So that one was a pretty big donut to take, because I did face some sort of people thinking exactly that I wasn't there for the right reason. It's interesting now. I remember one person who wrote a comment in his article, a review, and wasn't really that complimentary to me. Well, I know him now, and we are friends, and I see him all the time. And certainly he knows that I wasn't just there, just cause. Like, I stayed in combat sports all these years later. That was all the way back in, like 2005 or 2006. So that move into combat sports and doing that, I was the one who did all the interviews for Showtime Boxing. So I'd go in the ring afterwards or in the locker rooms and all that kind of stuff. And that is intimidating, hopping in the ring and talking to some sweaty guy that just whatever. But, an interview is an interview. If you can do it, you can do it. You just have to know, don't get past yourself. Don't pretend to know something you don't know. I would say that is one of my number one interview tips, is don't pretend to know something you don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the pressure of taking on a role like that, because, I I expect there were people who wanted you to succeed and there were people who
Yeah.
wanted you to fail, and they
Oh yeah.
probably felt both of those things very strongly. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, I've never done anything with that kind
Yeah.
of scrutiny on it before. So you
Yeah.
had to bear that weight.
I did. And it's interesting. A lot of times I've been the only woman in a situation. And so at boxing, there would be women on the production, but there's not a lot of women around, and even what I do now, there are women, there are more women reporters now after me. And there are more women, there's a lot of women that work on the production. But yeah, a lot of time I'm the only woman in a situation or the first one there. And I'm definitely almost always the only chocolate person there. That is a recurring theme from growing up to lots of situations. And even, at Brown, at WBRU, I worked in the rock and roll side, not the R&B side. I barely know anything about R&B music. I love rap and stuff, but I'm a rock and roll girl. And so that kind of throws people off even. I mean, if you can see behind me, that's a Chili Peppers poster, and that's my Pearl Jam, from MTV, because when the first Pearl Jam record came out, we played it all the time. And so I have a platinum record, but those are like, that's who I love. You know what I mean? And so a lot of my, a lot of difficulty is probably that people don't know how to put me in a box, because I don't fit in the box that they think I'm going to fit in. And so that part is I don't know how people talk about me, like I said, in the meeting rooms and stuff like that. But it has been, I think, a little bit of a weird issue that they think I should be one way, and then I'm totally not what they expect.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know to what extent you can answer this question,
Mm-hmm.
but is there a donut you're taking right now? What is currently in progress for you that you can talk about?
Well, I'm looking at I'm trying to move, to be honest with you. That's one thing. And I would hope that moving would get me some inspiration. Like, I will say I did get kind of burnt out on LA, and I was thinking of leaving. But my kids in school not too far from LA. So I think I'm going to stay in LA, but I do need a little bit of like a change of scenery and sort of, mental, whatever. But I just pitched something to a friend. Like I said, I give up on stuff, but I was like, this is actually a really good idea. You know what I mean? And so the next, it has to do with the jump rope. It's not a television thing at all, in fact. And it has something to do with jump rope and psychology. Let me just put it that way. And so that's the thing I'm currently hoping. Like, I just talked to a friend of mine about it the other day, and he has built some big things, and he was like, yeah, actually that's a really good idea. And so that would be the next one that if it worked, it could be incredible.
Okay, well, we'll have to
Yeah.
keep our eyes open for that, for updates
Yeah.
from you in the future.
Yes.
Well, so there may be people who are watching this who have a donut of their own that they want to take.
Uh-huh.
It could maybe still be an idea, or it could be
Yeah.
something they've started to pursue, but they're looking to fuel their motivation for it. So let's
Mhm.
sprinkle some encouragement. And
Yes.
what would you say to those people?
Well, I will say this. Even if you seem like the unlikely character in whatever it is you're doing, if you really feel it and you really believe it, go for it. Like I said, with the UFC stuff, when I first started there, I started out, I didn't work for them. I just started as a media person covering the sport. And but if you are there, you carry yourself in a professional manner, and I made an impact and got noticed, and then became an employee. Well, I work for them now, and it's because I knew I was good at it. I knew I could do it, and I knew I added something different that they hadn't seen before. And so now it's to the point where I remember somebody talking about me once, and they were like, yeah, Karyn's been there forever and stuff, and they were like, yeah, like everybody will take her call. Like a new fighter, an old fighter, a legendary fighter, a guy on the right, they're like, oh yeah, no, she did it the right way. Like, they'll take your call, they'll respect me. And so while I, haven't gotten opportunities that I believe I've earned, I have always used the tortoise and the hare analogy, and I'm definitely the tortoise. And a lot of people have jumped over me and this, that, and came after me and whatever. But I have built something that I know is more lasting, and that was built on actual hard work and credible work. And I didn't take shortcuts. I didn't, I don't, like, for my videos, I don't use clickbait titles. I just kind of say what it is. I don't know. I should play the game a little bit more on some of that stuff, but I don't. So I would say, don't give up your integrity. Do it the way you want to do it. You might be the tortoise like I am, but I do believe I'm going to get there. I believe. I mean, I guess I have to keep believing that, right? And I've gotten really far. I mean, like, it's just that I feel like a failure because I know I need to keep going. And my daughter will be like, yeah, mom, like, you're not a failure. She's like, are you kidding me? Like, you are not a failure. Nobody else would describe me as a failure except for me. So every now and then, I guess I also need to listen to people and take a look around and be like, oh yeah, I guess I did do that. I guess I'm not a failure. But yeah, think of the tortoise and the hare. You might be the tortoise, but you'll get there.
Oh, that's beautifully said. And I think, feeling like a failure is absolutely something that's driven you to the very many
Yeah,
accomplishments that you've had. So I hate to say switch that off,
I
because
know.
it's like you want
It
to
does work. It
continue
is my
striving.
motivator. Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
it's amazing, really.
yeah.
Well, for those who want to follow you on your journey, maybe see when some of these ideas you have become
Yeah.
reality, where can they find you?
So I have, KarynBryant.com, but a lot of times it's just easier to go to YouTube. So it's YouTube/Karyn Bryant. It's KarynBryant, Kobe, like Kobe Bryant, but we're not related. But also Instagram, KB Heat. Those are where I'm kind of the most active. And yeah, I post a lot of interviews. I post a lot of jump rope stuff too. And yeah, like I really do, I really have a great time with what I do. Like I said, I just wish I could do it all the time. I mean, my dream is to have my own late night talk show. That's always been the end goal. So if I ever make it as my tortoise, like that's actually the thing that I've always wanted to do. And again, that's why I was saying, like, I need somebody else to do it. It's like I can do it, and I've done it like on my YouTube, and I've literally done like podcasts that the whole tone of it was supposed to be a late night talk show. But yeah, like I don't run NBC or Netflix or whatever. Like I can't. I need them to say yes. So that part's hard, but I do it on my own thing. So yeah, YouTube.com/Karyn Bryant, or just KarynBryant.com, or KB Heat on Instagram.
Well, we'll be rooting for you the whole way. And everybody be sure to check out those resources. I will put links in the description so it's easy for people to access that and check out everything that you're doing. And for those of you watching, if you liked hearing Karyn's story, be sure to like and subscribe on this video because there's so many inspirational interviews still to come. But in the meantime, KB, thank you so much for taking time and being on this side of the interview, the interviewee side of it, and just sharing your thoughts about what it looks like to go after opportunities.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, and best of luck with this as you move forward with it. It's already great, so keep it going.
Thank you so much. And to everybody who's watching, go out there, get inspiration, get donuts.